Contributor Appreciation with Miss Thomas. Welcome to the Soapbox. My name is Jamarl Thomas. I am the host of the Progressive Soapbox. This is my lovely wife, Mrs. Thomas. She assists me with hosting often, not over the last few weeks, but she's here today. So welcome back to the Soapbox.
Thank you.
Excellent. So while we wait for people to come, I want to thank you guys. My mom, you haven't seen me too often last week. I did a few shows, but it wasn't that often. My mom has been ill. I want to send a thank you to people who've been sending me thank you requests in Google. Well, it's not really a request. It's more like a thank you message or get well soon message.
Right, like a well wishes.
Yeah, or get well wishes. And we've gotten several of them. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
She's doing fine now, by the way.
Yeah,
she's doing well.
So they were able to go in with the procedure. They did a laparoscopic procedure, so it wasn't necessarily too much downtime. It's only been a few days, and she's up visiting her mom, so she can't be doing too bad. So that's positive. I'll take it. When you first get cancer, it's kind of like, what? And then everything below that becomes okay, fair enough. I'll take it. And that's what that was. This was an okay, fair enough. I'll take it. So she's doing fine. And so you guys are probably going to see me back on my regular time next week. Also, this week was interesting because I was on Fault Lines. And I went to DC. And so, when I went to DC, I think that was Wednesday. It was an all-day show. It was Fault Lines, and it was By Any Means Necessary. That show should have aired on Friday.
Yep.
They pre-taped me. The news that I got was that I'm also going to be on a third show now. I don't know the name of that show, but it's with...
Stay tuned.
Yeah, I know. Stay tuned for the name. But the show has Bill... Oh, what is it? Becker. It's Becker. And... Jesus Christ, the name just slipped from me. The spy that was locked up.
But this is going to be still on the Sputnik radio station.
It's still going to be on
DC, right?
Yeah, it's still going to be on Sputnik radio station, and it's going to be on DC. The name slipped from me, both of their names. They're like, I love both of them. It's funny. Becker is one of the guys' name. He's like a Russian historian. The guy's, knowledgeable in all things Russian. It starts with a K.
Well, we'll find it.
It's going to come to me as we're talking. I'm just going to blurt it out.
We'll come back when we find it. And
the important point is I will be a host working with co-hosts on the third show now on Sputnik radio station.
That'd be cool.
That is going to be very cool. I like it. At some point, somebody's going to say, hey, this guy keeps...
Kiriakou?
That's it. Thank you. Kiriakou. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. I knew my audience
Neo
was Kiriakou.
Shazam, thank you.
Thank you very much. Kiriakou. And so he's awesome. I actually tried to get him on this show. In fact, I tried to get both of them on this show. Becker said he would do the show, and now at this point, I'm going to be able to harass him in person since I'm going to be on his show.
Make it happen.
I know, right? Make it happen. So it should be good, man. I was enamored by that because it means that you're doing something decent.
If they invite you to do a third show, because at first you went to Fault Lines.
Right.
And then you got added on to By Any Means Necessary.
Where they were like, wow, we like that guy. I wonder if we can get him on the show.
Radio gig for Sputnik.
Just out of the blue, I'm walking out and I am doing By Any Means Necessary, and I'm doing the taping for it.
Loud and clear. Uncle Brother says it's loud and clear with Brian Becker and John Kiriakou.
It's Kiriakou. That's it. I promise you, that's it.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm bad with names.
Thank you, Uncle Brother. Well, I'm reading it now.
Yeah. Well, I know the person.
I don't know if the pronunciation is correct.
It's Kiriakou.
But yes, okay.
He's he's a spy. So he was a spy.
He used to be a spy.
He used to be a spy. He used to be a spook.
He's not a spy now.
He's not a spy now.
Because you just put all his business out there if he is a spy.
Well, he put his business out there.
No, I mean, like, you're saying he's a spy. What I'm saying is, if you're telling if he's currently a spy.
Yeah, he's in trouble.
And you're here saying he's a
trouble.
spy, then he must not be a good spy.
But no, he revealed information, something that the United States was doing that it had no business doing. He was prosecuted for that, locked up for that. His life was ruined because of that. He was a whistleblower. He was doing what was right.
Yeah.
And they put him on a radio station as one of their hosts. And so the guy is awesome. And Becker, I saw Becker first time with, God, what is that woman's name? The reporter. The names are like dropping from my head. You know who she is. You always said that I had a crush on her.
Abby Martin?
Yeah, Abby Martin. That's right. The A was coming to me, but it was saying Amy, but I was like, it's not Amy. Yeah, Abby Martin. So Abby Martin did a show with her, with Becker, and did this kind of series on the Russian Revolution and those type of things. It was amazing. It was really, really good. So I've tried to since get him on my show. I found him, caught him in person. He said yes, but I haven't heard anything since.
Okay.
But now I could be in person and be like, you gotta be on my show. You gotta be on my show. You gotta be on my show. It's like every other question is gonna be horrible. He's gonna be like, yeah, dude, God damn it, I'll be on your show. It's like, all right, yes. What did you ask me again? Yeah, I go from there. So that's awesome. So I thought that news was amazing. You talking about a kiss to the ego. Because look, nobody has to have you on your show. And there are times where you might think, okay, well, they're just having me just to be a foil on the show. Maybe I'm just here for the...
No, I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit. Like, they're not calling me to be on the show. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're not just picking out some random Joe Schmo and like, we just need another voice. Just put any old body on here. I mean, it does require a certain level of...
skill, acumen, knowledge, historical precedence, and
okay, do we have any other news or updates?
Gravity of opinion. Logical disposition and reasoning faculties. It requires all those things. And you're right. Maybe I don't give myself enough credit. I should give myself more credit. So yeah, there's that. So from the show thing, another thing, patron appreciation. So what we found was that...
Wait, this is my update.
What do you mean?
I wanted to give the update.
Go for it.
Okay.
But you did ask me if there was anything else. You did.
Wait. Come
throw
back.
that to me. And you said, was there anything else?
Stay within the screen because the image is going weird. The color is going weird. Not that close.
Okay, go for it.
Not that close, buddy. Not that close. All right. So if you are just joining us, welcome to Contributor Appreciation. Weekly-ish shows. Trying to get back to weekly.
Well, it's weekly. We missed last week, but that was just...
Okay. Weekly shows where Jamarl takes the time out to thank everybody that contributes to the show.
Yes.
Primarily through Patreon. If you are not familiar with what Patreon is, because we've had people ask, and so I explain it. So Patreon is, you're watching YouTube and you say, hey, I like this guy. I want them to continue putting out content, so I'm going to contribute to them, and you commit to a monetary amount every month. It can be as little as $1, $5, $10, $20, whatever you want to give, and it goes to him directly so that he can continue making content.
Yes.
And so this started by putting up questions on Patreon to say, hey, what do you guys want to hear Jamarl talk about, and giving the patrons a specific show. Historically, what happens is we get information and we get topic suggestions from patrons. We go through the topics, he gives his take, and then we take the video down from YouTube, we split it into different segments, and then we drop it in exclusively for patrons. Now, someone asked, why the hell do we do that? Because no one watches it. When we go back and look at the stats on those videos, they get like 5 views. And then some people have even mentioned that they don't log into Patreon.
Yeah.
That their money just goes and they don't check it. And so they're not going back and looking at that content. And so it's been decided, Jamarl has decided, to leave the videos open for everyone.
Yes.
But because it is still contributor appreciation,
they get to choose.
The topics are still going to be driven. The shows are still going to be driven by the recommendations and the information submitted through contributors, which is primarily through patrons. Sometimes we'll get messages through email and other avenues, like if people donate through PayPal or Streamlabs or any other type of place that they contribute, then we get information there. But yes, just as an update, the videos will be live now for available now for everybody to see on YouTube, but we're still going to split them into the different segments.
Yeah.
So how that works is after the live show, it'll be taken down, and then the segments will be dropped in within the next 2 or 3 days, because we have to split them, add graphics, all that good stuff. So they'll be put back up, but they will be available outside of Patreon now.
There's something else.
So that's it. Yeah. So if you're a patron or contributing, don't forget to log into your Patreon. There's a weekly post that goes out usually on Thursday that asks what you would like to see discussed on the show, and that's where you put your information. So we got a couple for this week. 3 of them. So
and so I mean, I guess at the very least people get to direct the questions. I look at other shows, and other shows kind of do it where people ask questions and they don't necessarily hold it specifically for patrons. I mean, because honestly it's not enough. And it's like 3 people viewing the video.
People are saying, we don't log in a Patreon.
I
mean, I've heard people say that they don't. They just commit.
They just want to support the content.
Right. And so they just commit and they follow, because they're watching you on YouTube. It's like, what am I logging in a Patreon for?
Yeah.
So if they miss the video and they're not logging in a Patreon, they're not getting those videos. And like we said, once we spend all the time cutting them and
It's
adding
like
the
7
graphics.
people, and it's like
It's
nobody's
like
watching this
7
video.
people that watch it.
It's like nobody's
and a lot
watching
of
this
it
video.
is stuff that people, want to hear about. But it is still going to be content driven by the contributors.
Right.
So don't forget to still log in and give us your topic suggestions.
Yes.
So that is an update. That will change.
The topic suggestion is important, especially if it's something that you're interested in. You'd be like, hey, what about this? And look, people send me topics constantly. I get a stream of them in an email. I have people who from day one have been interested in a certain area, and they would send me topics specific to the area to which they're interested in. That could be environmental news, that could be UFO stuff. I get a ton of UFO videos where people are like, dude, take a look at this.
If nobody gives topic suggestions, that's what we're going to hear all the time.
It's like patron appreciation. Let's do UFO video. Yeah, you get those. Somebody says, Jamarl look like he's 10 years younger when he does UFO videos. It's fascinating. How could you not be fascinated by it?
That's what he likes to do.
By the way, Tucker Carlson got Donald Trump on and was asking him about UFO stuff. You haven't seen that. I would imagine you haven't seen that.
You're right.
Yeah. But Tucker does a segment where Tucker is like going in, and Tucker is asking him.
I think you told me about that.
I was telling you about it. Where Tucker, and it was like, that's amazing. Tucker, look, for whatever you want to think of Tucker Carlson, this has been an interest of his. And he's done show after show after show on this, what other people have been scared of. And Tucker, like Joe Rogan, asks the basic question of, why aren't more people interested in this? You are a ball hurling through the cosmos. And we are sending stuff with our little rudimentary technology to other planets. And we have stuff flying through the solar system. It takes God to be invoked to believe that we are the only ones. If life develops on this planet, why wouldn't it develop other planets? That's the basic tenet. And so people like Rogan, people like Tucker are like, people are seeing things. And are we supposed to pretend that they're not? Like, it's that. It's just the basic logic
of... Why
are they concerned? Why are people... And then when the Navy comes out and says, okay, we are investigating this, so we're going to open a pathway for people to tell us about this, but no, we're not going to tell you what we find. Like, when you get stuff like that, and people are like, we're seeing things off our shores, we have no idea what those are, but they're doing magnificent things. And one of the Navy pilots, the guy who...
Is it Air Force or Navy?
Air Force. Well, this guy was a Navy guy. Okay. But he comes out and says, I made the decision to get to another location, and the thing beat me to the location. And he says, how the hell did it know that I was going to the location? Which gets into a consciousness thing. Like, all of these are fascinating things.
These are the kind of conversations you should have on the black box.
And
I think that you should just...
And then the military starts investigating weird technologies.
I think that you should just start a video on the black box. And just, talk. Because it'll lead to all of these...
Other topics, brainstorming for the black box.
If you didn't know, Jamarl has a second channel called The Black Box.
Yes. I have not put much on that.
It's supposed to house all of this alternate
UFO
content.
Stuff.
It could be UFO, it could be comics, it could be Star Trek, it could be anything.
What is that? There's a blue something.
There's a glare. No, that's just the end of the screen.
Oh, that's the end of the screen. Okay.
We're trying to see.
I'm trying to figure out, what is that?
On the
what
visual.
Is that?
But yeah, so so right now we haven't gotten into any topics. We're just kind of chit-chatting, giving updates, letting people get logged on.
By the way, have you seen the debates? You were with me at the debate party. You saw the second one.
Yeah, I was there.
No, I was about to say,
have I seen
I said the debates, but there was 2 debates.
I did not see the first debate with Tulsi Gabbard.
Yes.
I did, of course, go with you, or you went with me.
To the debate party.
To the Bernie watch party.
Yes.
For the second round of debates with Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden, Kamala Harris.
Yes.
Booty
gag, yeah. And we're not saying that because we're anti-gay.
The lady that said that she wanted to fight with love.
Marianne Williamson.
Yeah, she was.
I love that. Because in my head,
the power of love.
The power of love. We're going to defeat Donald Trump with the power of love. It puts me in the mind of Scott Pilgrim. That was my guilty pleasure. And at one point, Scott Pilgrim, he's on the stairways. He's about to fight the guy who's, he's finally the biggest bad for the boyfriend. And he says something like, no, I'm doing this for me. And he's like, Scott develops a power of love. And he rips a sword out of his chest. That's what it put me in the mind of when Marianne Williams said, we're going to beat Donald Trump with the power of love.
I loved when the very last question that they asked was, what is your first action going to be?
Yeah, your first priority.
As president. Like, when you get into office as president, what is your first priority going to be? Joe Biden says to beat Donald Trump. And I'm like, what?
Joe Biden has said a lot of weird stuff recently. Like,
I also like the part where they asked Andrew Yang to explain his standpoint on universal basic income.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they asked him the question, he was like, I'm sorry, what?
Well, he says mic was off. He said he was a hard time.
Is that what he said?
That's what he said. He said his mic was off. And he says, they asked him, like, what do you think about the debates? You know, are you pissed off that the mic was off? He says, no. He says, because I think what the American people get is that the Asian man wants to give him $1,000 a month.
Is that what he said?
That's what he said. I love that.
Okay.
He gets that the Asian guy wants to give him cash. Like, it's like if I was black, it's like, he gets that the black guy wants to give $1,000 a month to everybody. I love that. So he said that part. Kamala Harris going after Joe Biden. Now, I'll ask you this because I bring you on the channel because, you know, you get the perspective of somebody who's not encased in politics.
Going after Joe Biden.
Okay,
when she opened up on Joe Biden,
yes,
she was hitting him for supporting busing.
Now, keep in mind, everybody at the Bernie Sanders meeting screamed with like, "Oh yes!" with
now,
this, even though none of them were.
To be clear, this was a Bernie Sanders watch party.
Yes.
So you already know what was, you know, in the minds of the people in attendance. And she starts going in on Joe Biden. Now, also to be noted, I think Jamal and I, and there was one other African American at the debate party. And we were sitting there. One other black person.
One other black.
We were sitting there, and there was about 20 people or so. And she's going after him, talking about how he supported busing. And she was the little girl and all this other stuff. And I'm looking like, ain't nobody gonna stop this? And Jamal goes, well, she's black. She's the black voice right now.
What are they gonna...
Like, she's the only African American.
Can you imagine if they would have been
debate,
like Chuck Todd?
Who has the balls, the gall, the audacity?
And she wasn't gonna let him. If you notice, she was
step in and stop this black woman.
Especially when she posited as, I am the only black person here. Like, when
and
she
so
starts
she was
there.
Like, she was like,
I love
so
it.
let me speak. And I'm like, this bitch. Now, that's because I don't really care for Kamala Harris.
Right.
But
and you're black, so from your standpoint, there's no thought of, okay, are they going to say something, you know, do I need to give her space? There's a bit of white guilt. There's all sorts of stuff mixed into this. But Chuck Todd and Richmond were like, fair enough. It's a lefty organization. It's a Democratic Party. 99% of Democrats vote.
Let her go in on
90% of blacks vote Democrat. So understand where you are. I'm making a point that, yeah, they're going to give her space. You're in the Democratic Party debate. Joe Biden has made a faux pas. The only African-American woman on stage is taking her space and owning her space. Claiming my time. And they said, fair enough. Let the black woman speak. And what do they do? They put a box on Joe Biden's head.
Right.
And Joe Biden is
because as she's going after him, they do a split screen to make sure that they're capturing Joe Biden's response to him being hit in the knees.
And he takes it. He's
But like afterwards when we talked about it, and I think you were the one that was like, well, you know why, right? Because Joe Biden has the black vote and Kamala Harris needs the black vote. And so she's like, I'm here represent for my people today, and I'm hitting Joe Biden. What is that?
She's carving out the black vote.
Don't do that.
That was her job. What I would guarantee
but
you this.
She did well.
In her debate prep, she would say, I would guarantee you 1,000 times, she said, I'm going to hit him on this, and I need to find an effective way to do it. And this was the way she found to do it. She says, I was bused. Now, we find out later that her policy for busing is pretty much the same as Joe Biden's.
But she took that moment.
But she took the moment. Nobody's going to ask what was her policy after the fact. They're going to see her in that moment on the debate stage, putting a knife into Joe Biden and doing what he can to carve out the black vote. That's what she was doing. That's her job. And she did admirably at her job. She did an amazing job. I don't particularly like Kamala Harris. Do not misunderstand me.
But in that moment, she was shining.
In that moment, oh my God, she did her thing. And afterwards, Joe Biden numbers fell precipitously.
And
she rose. Her and Elizabeth Warren jumped in the polls. She did a good job. I give credit where credit is due. In a raw politics state, where the job of it is, I need his points. I'm number 4 in the polls. I'm in striking distance. And in striking distance, it's Mr. Joe Biden. Because if I can put a knife into him and carve out the black vote, then that is enough for me to jump in position. That was her point. That was her goal. That was literally the goal. as it should have been her goal in raw politics.
Now, Fred Edwards says the audacity, that is my favorite word, Fred, just for the record. The audacity to call out Joe for his bad racist policies while she, Kamala Harris, actively locked up poor black, brown, and white folk.
I know.
Needs to be called out.
But now, Joe Biden tried to. If you remember, when she hit Joe Biden,
it didn't.
She kept going.
Yeah.
But if you remember, Fred, when she hit Joe Biden the first time, Joe Biden says, "I was working as a public defendant while you were putting people in prison." Yeah. That was his literal start. And people cheered that because that is an amazing retort.
Now, I will say, because he and I were just having this conversation before the video started. So you guys know that, or if you may not know, because somebody said they didn't even know that you had a second channel. So obviously, you're not promoting Black Box well enough.
I haven't put anything on it
But
yet.
we'll address that later. Anyways, I've had 2 people come up to me because of him. People think that I am like politically astute. I don't know, like people think that I'm like in the know, and they ask me stuff like,
oh,
I don't know, like we have conversations about politics now. Or,
oh,
you know,
okay.
maybe they don't,
because
they're like, yeah, we don't. We didn't really talk about stuff like that. But I've had 2 women, white women, who told me that they like Kamala Harris, and I was like, really? Well, why? I think, and Jamal and I speculated, progressive like to support African Americans. It sounds good to say that you're supporting the black candidate.
Yes. I think that.
They are
I could be
open
wrong.
to an African American candidate, a black candidate, whatever. Do you know anything about her policies? Well, no, not really. The first person told me that they like the way she speaks.
Yes.
And I said, and this person is in politics.
She's in politics.
She is. Not in politics. She's not.
But she does the political stuff.
Right. She is somewhat entrenched.
You actually why?
And she said, I like the way she speaks. I don't know much about her, but I like her.
Which kind of goes to she's articulate.
The second person.
Wait. I like the way she speaks. She's the same thing, right? I mean,
yeah.
It's just an odd thing. I remember there was a guy who told me one time, he was a lefty. He says, I supported Obama because he was black. Straight up told me. And I was like, people support people for all sorts of reasons. Well, what do I give a shit? But his thing was, I thought because he was black, he'd do something different. Which is astonishing because it's an identity politics where you're associating the person's race with something that they're going to do different. And it's like, no.
And shout out to the comments. And if you don't know, and if you've never heard me say, I read the comments on my phone. So a lot of the time while I'm doing the show here, I'm looking down. But shout out to you guys in the comments because Burnman said, this is why identity politics and the narratives behind them need to be fought harder. It'll subvert substantive, I hate that word.
Substantial.
No,
substantive.
Right. Progressivism.
Substantive.
Leslie Walker, yes, he says real progressives support policies.
Yes.
That means that you're informed, and before you go and say, I like XYZ, you have a legitimate reason why you know something about their policies.
I'm always astonished by when people say that. It's like, because my first response is,
I like so-and-so. In the same vein,
why?
I've had people tell me I don't like Bernie.
And then my first answer is always also, why?
Now, because I'm going to put this out here. I don't usually do it. You know, I like to talk about my family.
Oh, you're talking about your mama.
But I am going to put her out here and put her on blast because she called me specifically the day after the debates to talk trash. Because she knows that I like Bernie Sanders. I don't think he did well in the debates. I think he needed to push a little harder.
So you're with me on this. He needed to throw a punch.
Yeah.
Like after seeing Kamala Harris go after Biden, my first thought was
Bernie to do that.
Sanders needed to do that. And not kind of in a roundabout way, but she put a knife in him. And it was one of those things where Sanders was just standing between the two with his head kind of like, wow. Sanders, I kept saying, you're part of the civil rights movement. Like, there's images of Sanders sitting behind Martin Luther King. There's images of Sanders getting dragged away.
I was saying something.
Oh, my bad.
Okay, so my mom calls me the day after debates and tells me, excuse me?
I just said Sanders threw a punch.
Okay. And tells me, I'm sorry for you guys, but there's no chance for Bernie. And she goes on to basically tell me not Bernie. And I said, why? I don't know, just not Bernie. Okay, so then who then? I don't know, but not Bernie. I don't mind having the conversation if it's an actual conversation.
You have a reason.
Like if you're telling me specifically, well, even if you say he's too old.
I think your mom's age racist.
Okay. whatever, but
I do.
at least have legitimate. Now, the second woman who said that they like Kamala Harris and that she said she liked Bernie, but she was worried about Bernie, just like everybody else, I think, that knows anything about Bernie and what happened in 2016.
Yeah.
She's worried about him getting through. And I mentioned to her, and we were talking about the debates, and I said, well, everybody that was talking about their platform, all of their issues on their platform, majority of their issues, started with Bernie. You know what I mean? This was all Bernie 2016. Medicare for all, $15 minimum wage, money out of politics, all of the erasing the debt, student loan debt. These are all this is Bernie. And she said, oh, you make a good point. I said, there's variances and there's arguments about how to effectively get there. But essentially, it was all Bernie. And she's like, oh, you make a good point. But she said she liked Kamala too. And I was like, do some research, because she does not have a good track record as a prosecutor, especially when you're thinking about her race.
Yes.
And her history of incarcerating and pushing to incarcerate the poor.
Keep saying race matters less than class.
Yeah,
I keep saying it. Said it 1,000 times. What you're going to do in policy. I don't care if Bernie Sanders is old. I don't care if he's white. I don't care if he's Jewish. Bernie Sanders could be an alien of another planet. I don't care. I care about his policies. Honestly, full stop. Now, let me say this. Go for it.
Because I saw a meme or like a something online on social media a couple of weeks ago where an African American guy said that he was somewhere and he was talking to an older white woman, and she said, "Oh wow, you're so articulate."
Right. Now,
someone else is talking about how Biden told Obama he's clean and articulate,
right.
And someone saying they like Kamala Harris because the way that she speaks, and you said articulate. Now, when I saw this thing online, and it was a young man, maybe 20, talking about how he impressed this white woman because he was so well spoken. Someone responded in the comments, and it kind of made a little sense, even though it was really rough, that's because she wasn't expecting anything of you.
Well,
that she was expecting you to be poorly spoken.
That's the problem.
So she was like, oh, wow, you're so articulate.
Right.
So you were expecting the opposite?
The opposite was the expectation.
So that kind of...
That's where it comes.
It's like, oh, wow, she's such an articulate black woman.
But it's not meant to be taken as a neg.
I know, but I wonder, you know what I mean? Is it because you know what... Yeah.
Well, it has to be.
Yeah.
Well, else was just say it. Like, if your if my expectation of you was to be utterly and entirely incompetent, and you came out and you said math, a perfect example. When I had I guess it was an OBE, maybe it was like a lucid dreams thing, and I was telling my mom, I said, yeah, in the back, Ricky was reading a newspaper. She said he was reading a newspaper. She was shocked by that. Like, it was like, because she knew that he wasn't all mentally there to be able to read the newspaper. Yeah. So the fact that he was reading it in and of itself was astonishing. Like, the fact that you're bringing up, wow, you speak really well, and you're talking to somebody with like Asperger's or something like that. If you assume that there would be some people who would speak all that well, then you wouldn't necessarily say that. I've never heard anybody say that white person is articulate. That is just really, it's odd phraseology to me, but it comes up all the time, and I don't take offense to it. I don't take offense to most stuff people say, because I know their intention isn't necessarily negative. All people...
But it's a comparison.
It is a comparison.
You to say that, and it's kind of like you showing that you had an expectation of me not being able to be articulate. I thought that was interesting, especially because we're talking about...
Is it the individual's fault?
Nah, I don't know. You always want to go.
Go there. I mean, you have to go there because we're saying you kind of have to, because as an African American, and we're saying for this person to say, well, God, you're so articulate, or she's so clean, or whatever you want to add to that, but the person speaks so well, then the second, you also have to go to this point of what they didn't mean anything by it. Like, that person who said that was speaking in the best interest. Not to mention, they even voted for the person. So it's not like they're harboring hatred towards that black person who they're voting for, and they're saying he's speaking well. However, as an African American, you look at this and be like, well, wait a minute. There are a lot of people.
Properly,
I just speak English.
Not articulate for a black person.
Right. But that white person, who's clearly not racist because she's literally voting for a black person, she's making this kind of judgment value, even though she doesn't know she's making a judgment value. Where did she get that from? And is it her fault?
Well, someone's saying it's an old kind of
phraseology.
Yeah.
I guess my point is, it can't be their fault. It's your society is arranged in a particular way, and your society drives those things deep in the individuals themselves.
And people are saying that they have called white people articulate.
I've never heard that though.
I've never experienced
experienced
that. But I will
that.
say that you experience the world through your own experiences.
That's true.
As an African American, we see things differently than whites do. So
Yes.
for a white to say, "Well, I call other people articulate,"
We see things through the context of our culture,
through my experiences.
I guess my point is, I don't take offense or I don't feel any way about it. I look at a lot of this stuff as your society drives certain things. Not to mention there's certain phraseologies that are associated with our world. Like also, I'll add stuff in. But there's some African Americans who would be like, take issue with that. The fact that they're still talking about it today, that Biden called the party clean and articulate. Clean, so fine and so clean. That doesn't necessarily bother me too much. I don't necessarily think that's being said in he's a dirty,
as opposed to a dirty
Negro, right? I don't think he's saying it that way. I think he's saying it clean in the sense of like that suit is
clean.
Yeah, and maybe I'm giving him too much benefit of the doubt, but that's the way I took it. As for articulate, yeah, I do hear that, and there's a thing in our culture that hears that and bristle a little bit. It's like, what do you expect that person not to be able to speak all that well? I mean, it's like, no, I didn't expect that at all. Then why are you saying he's articulate? You're making a value of,
Chemishwari Kate says, I hate to tell this to you, but as a Caucasian, we have been given the message that other colors of people are not intelligent.
Yes.
Black women in my high school class slapped us awake to see the reality.
Yes. Well, that's my point.
I understand.
It's the cultural thing that digs into people. It's not.
But there is, and not just whites. Not just whites. Because other blacks will say, well, why do you talk white?
Yeah.
That will be the experience.
Yeah.
That they'll say, well, why do you talk white? Well, I don't talk white. I mean, I'm speaking correct English.
Language.
I'm not, my speech isn't laced with ebonics. Now, I would drop an F-bomb in a heartbeat, but...
That's more so when I was younger, though. Like, that's more so a younger thing. Like, when you're a child and there's a certain cultural pressure. And look, some of this is rap. Because they speak a certain way in rap, so that's considered to be this kind of cultural dialect. Some of it is in movies where you may have some elements of culture that kind of gets overblown. Like some of the people make it out from poverty to riches using music and using that as a thing of being a platform of pushing out media. This notion that, media matters. I argue that Will and Grace was one of the best things for gay marriage as opposed to some of the other activist orientations.
So this reminds me of when you said you went to the store the other day and the lady...
Yeah, she's like, I like some of my customers better than others.
Now this is a small fast food restaurant, like locally owned, like really, really small. It's like the size of a closet inside. Kind of like a mom and pop kind of thing.
I've been going to that place for 40 years.
Black neighborhood. It is in a rough
ish.
There are some characters every time I go, he tells me be careful. And his mom is like, are you going by yourself? To give context on what kind of environment this is.
I've been going to this place for like 40 years. Literally like 40 years. That place is awesome. The food is awesome.
But the lady told you the other day that you were better than, like, she liked you better than.
She was like, I like some of my customers. Now, to give more context, some of them are ruthlessly fucking with her constantly. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
they are, and they do. They do.
That's all. She has that tough skin to work in that area. So
it's unfortunate, but it's true.
Yes. All right, so let's do the news. Let's do the show.